What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. If you don't like it, you can have that seatbelt.
So two of the biggest areas for concern regarding the Nintendo Switch 2 seem to be the third-party dev kit distribution situation, or lack thereof, and also, of course, game key cards. Now, what if I told you that the two of those could be directly related to each other? But before we get things started, we're still on the road to 20,000 subscribers. If you're into Nintendo Switch 2 content and you're not yet a subscriber to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section about the video. And also, if you like the video, go ahead and hit that like. So we've heard that quite a few third parties, major third parties and major AAA teams are having issues getting access to Nintendo Switch 2 dev kits, despite the fact that there's been quite a few indie developers and other smaller developers that have had no problems getting Switch 2 kits, and it's leaving a lot of developers and publishers kind of scratching their heads. So then we also have the fact that game key cards are not very popular at all amongst Nintendo gamers or anyone for that matter. And the game key card could be related to this whole lack of dev kits and this limited amount of dev kits coming out of Nintendo. And I'm going to explain that to you guys. So Nintendo introduced this game key card thing. And I told you guys from the jump that this was something that was introduced specifically to cater to the third parties, right? And we've seen this. If you guys paid attention, absolutely no Nintendo game uses a game key. These are only third-party games. And only third-party games are using these game keys. And it's because there is only one cart size available for developers to use, and that's 64 gigs. And it just happens to be quite an expensive cart to use. So most of the developers have opted to not use that cart so that they wouldn't have to pay even more money or lose money, I guess, on their sales, or lose a little bit of their profit, and decided to opt for the game key card. Now, I'm starting to think that maybe, just maybe, the real reason why Nintendo is being reluctant and being very picky about how many dev kits they send to these developers and publishers right now is because they see the reaction to the game key. They see that most Nintendo fans don't care for game key cards, and a lot of Nintendo fans are claiming that they will refuse to buy any game keys. So if you see that this reaction to game keys, which honestly, even before the Switch 2 launch, I'm sure that Nintendo knew that there would be some kind of negative reaction to game keys, because they know that Nintendo owners in general like to own physical copies of games. Like more than any other fan base, Nintendo gamers like to own physical media. So they had to know that this was coming. Now, did they expect the reaction to it to be to this point? Maybe not, but they had to have expected it. Which brings me to my point. If Nintendo was out there giving dev kits to anybody that wanted them, at the same time, there would be a huge flood of third-party games available for the Switch 2 right now. Now, as we've seen as what's happened so far, like 98% of the third-party games that have come out for the Switch 2 have used the game key. Like the games that come out that have a physical version, most of them have been a game key. And just maybe Nintendo saw that coming and didn't want to flood the market with hundreds and hundreds of game key cards that it knew that its fan base didn't really favor. Maybe Nintendo is intentionally restricting how many dev kits they send out in hopes that by the time that they can send all these out, there will be another cart size available from the company that's making the carts for them. I didn't word that the way I wanted to. Let me say that again. I think that Nintendo is purposely limiting the amount of kits that they send to these third parties because they are waiting on the company that makes the carts for Switch 2 to come out with other sizes to make them available for third parties so that they don't have to use game keys if they don't want to. Now, I'm not saying that game keys was a temporary fix and that game keys were going to disappear. I think the game keys are here to stay, but Nintendo wants to give that option to games that, for instance, aren't over 60 gigs. So the games that have been coming out for the Switch 2 that are 20 gigs and 30 gigs and stuff like that. Maybe they are working on a 32 gig cart and don't want to give out dev kits to everybody and their mama until they know that those carts are available for third parties to use, because they obviously know that their fans are not a fan of these game carts, or of these game keys, and that's why they had the survey that they didn't even have to keep up for more than a day because they got so many replies. So they definitely know. And I'm starting to think that there may be a correlation between these game keys and just how many dev kits that they're sending out. Maybe they see that people don't like these game keys at all, and they're trying to work on bringing out different cart sizes to kind of limit just how many game keys have to be on the market, because right now there's not really a choice. Like, the choice is pretty much lose money, minimize your profits, or use a game key. Now, if they come out with like a 32 gig cart or something like that, that gives the third parties more options, and there's also a cheaper option. And I'm willing to bet that if there was a 32 gig cart instead of just a 64 gig cart, I can almost guarantee you that a large portion of these third parties that are doing game keys will opt for the 32 gig. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section.